actually, I brought this. I think last time we talked and praised it a little bit. But I hadn't actually. I'd gone through it a little bit.
You haven't fully read it.
I fully read this now, and it's called Vietnam America, and this is actually. I think it's slightly fictionalized, but more or less it's nonfiction. Actually, it's G.B. Tran who is the artist and author of this. It's his reflections on being a first-generation American, and it's a recounting of his family, his experience living in Vietnam, living through the wars, and immigrating to America, and fleeing South Vietnam during the fall. And also the experiences of, it sort of recounts stuff about family members he didn't even meet, like his father, who actually was not a very big part of his life or his father's life, because he joined the revolution and never really came home until after the war was over.
Yeah.
It's very emotional, honestly. It's in a good way.
Yeah.
It feels very sincere, and I mean it's about as sincere as it can be.
I think sincere
being
emotions
nonfiction.
in a comic can be really good.
Yeah.
I know this may sound mean, but I sometimes really don't like it when comics try to be emotional just for the sake of trying to pull something out.
Oh sure, but you can always tell the difference.
Yeah. When something is done true and you feel moved by it, you should know it's coming.
Yeah, this is really a story that uses the comic medium to its full advantage.
Yeah.
I feel, and one of the things it does, and this is something that a lot of graphic novels don't necessarily do, because they forget to, because they weren't actually a comic at any point.
Yeah.
He does occasionally break into chapter art, which looks like a cover, which kind of sets the stage for what's going to happen inside.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times graphic novels don't do that because weren't broken up into issues, and they don't have. Whereas you get that with trades, where you get a little bit of a snippet of what you're about to see.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that he decided to do that with this, and it's very clear. Well, also from the fact that he's writing a comic and drawing a comic, that he's into comics. But you see, because it is nonfiction, you see little things littered in there. Like as he's a kid, you see him reading his Transformers stuff and reading his manga and playing his Final Fantasy. And like, okay, this kid's a nerd like the rest of us.
Yeah.
But that's not really what this is about. This isn't
Exactly.
meant to be one of those comics. I mean, you see snippets of his life and how that's a part of his life, but this is really about his family's life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't gloss over things. I don't want to say it's unsentimental, because it's very sentimental, because it's a family story, but it's not glamorized. His family members are presented with a lot of faults. I mean, a lot of positive qualities too. It's very clear that he was being very sincere.
Yeah.
But it doesn't shy away from stuff like child abuse and lies that your parents tell you. And there were a lot of things that he was not told about his life. Like that his siblings were actually his half-siblings, and you find out in here when he finds out about that.
Yeah.
Which is, surprise! You had another... Dad was married before this.
Exactly.
And that's where your brother and sister came from. But this is another nonfiction thing. This is an adaptation of... This is Alan's War, The Memories of G.I. Alan Cope. Emmanuel Gilbert is listed as the author, mostly because he's the person who adapted this, but basically it's this old GI's memoirs. He met this old guy and just chatted with him a lot, and just at one point said, let's make your story into a comic, and that's basically what they did. It's just this old man's words and reflections of his experiences in the war, adapted into artwork, which is it's interesting because it's different styles of artwork as you move through.
Yeah.
But you'll have
to get back to me on it, how it is.
Well, I've browsed through it. It's good.